It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. So I've been playing a ton of the current season, the season of the Seraph, and I want to go over some weapons I'm currently chasing for as far as, god rolls and all that stuff, and, just what to look out for if you're looking for some good PvE weapons. I got one or two PvP weapons on this list, but yeah, mainly for PvE, and, I'm going to be talking about why I'm going for these weapons, but a lot of them are just, strong in general. Also, just a quick disclaimer before we get into it. I am not even sure what's free to play in this game anymore, but I know that a couple of these weapons for sure are not free to play, okay? Two of them are probably free to play, and the other three are not. So keep that in mind if you're trying to see if this is a weapon you could maybe go for. That some of these weapons will come from the dungeon, and yeah, if you didn't buy the dungeon key, they added the whole new DLC thing, or wherever you have to buy the dungeons now too, so... Alright, let's get into it. This will be in order of, how much I want these. And of course, there are certain weapons that won't be on this list that you might be like, why is that weapon on the list? It's because maybe it's not interesting to me. So, starting off the list at number 5, it's going to be the Long Arm. This thing is basically the legendary DMT. If you've ever used the DMT before, I've got it here for you. So this thing can get some specific rolls that seem pretty juicy. But the big reason you would use this thing is mainly just because it's a legendary Dead Man's Tale. It is a new archetype of pulse or scout rifle where it hits really hard. And this thing can get some pretty juicy rolls. Now, this is mostly going to be a PvP roll I'm looking for here. I'm looking for one with certain... So as you can see right here, this is pretty nice. There's a new full auto so that you can make any weapon full auto at base. So pretty nice there. And as far as rolls, we're going to take light GG and then take a peek at what we can get here. So here is the Long Arm. The possible rolls are these. Now, as far as PvP, I've tested this out a good amount with Compulsive Reloader. And since this thing reloads 2 bullets at a time, Compulsive Reloader can actually be pretty awesome on this thing. Just let you basically always have your bullets ready to go. But as far as rolls for PvP, the ultimate roll, in my opinion, is going to be Explosive Payload, and then, honestly, whatever perk you want in this slot. Maybe Compulsive Reloader. So Explosive Payload, Compulsive Reloader, and then either range or some more like stability or something. And as far as, like what barrel, it's going to really be up to personal preference. I know some people on console like to prioritize stability over, range a lot of the time. But me on mouse and keyboard, I usually just jam as much range as possible. So you'd either go Arrowhead Break, which I believe this thing has... It's got 72 recoil direction already, so Arrowhead Break should be good. But if not, maybe Small Bore or whatever you end up getting. This thing is farmable from the Spire of the Watcher dungeon, and it's from the Spire climbing encounter, and also technically from like bonus chests and stuff too. So yeah, mainly for PvP, but in PvE this thing's pretty juicy, so you can get something like Dragonfly or Subsistence or like whatever. It has pretty good perks all around for PvE and PvP. Moving on to the next weapon, we're going to be going to the a weapon I've actually already got lucky enough to obtain. So I haven't gotten the God Roll on the Long Arm yet, but on this weapon I have got what I consider the God Roll, and that's actually going to be a weapon that is free to play. So the Long Arm is not free to play. This thing is, and it's actually the 3rd time we can farm this thing. It's called the Glaciochasm. Now, the reason that this thing is what I want to farm is because the recently buffed Gear Falcon's Hauberk, I hope I said that even remotely right, this thing got buffed a lot for the Hunter. So once you leave invisibility as the Hunter, you will get volatile rounds on your void weapons. And this is a void weapon we're talking about. And volatile means enemies hit by these projectiles will explode. We're going double explosion with the Glaciochasm. It can get a special perk called Reservoir Burst. When the battery of this weapon is full, your next burst will deal additional damage and cause enemies to explode on death. So double explosion, we're using perks like Slide Shot to make it so we're always having our magazine filled, so we're always getting that extra explosion shot. And also you can technically go Subsistence. Every kill will give you ammo back, so you can just keep using Explosion Shot, Explosion Shot, Explosion Shot. So I lucked out here. I actually got the roll I wanted. This is what I consider like the Mega God roll pretty much. But there's a couple other rolls you could maybe go for, since we are, getting this for the Gear Falcon, new Hunter, recently buffed Hunter Exotic. A really good perk with that Hunter Exotic is actually going to be Repulsor Brace. Whenever you kill an enemy affected by a Void debuff, and volatile rounds do cause debuffs, by the way, you will get a Overshield. Now, the problem with this is that if you're taking Repulsor Brace on your Glaciochasm instead of one of these reload perks, you will not consistently have that full magazine for Reservoir Burst. So if you are going for a Repulsor Brace, maybe think about something else like Golden Tricorn for additional damage, or something else, maybe like high impact reserves for additional damage. The Reservoir Burst is not the best synergy with Repulsor Brace unless you just want to manually reload, but yeah, be my guest. But pretty much, yeah, if you have the Dawning upgrade, the big thing about this year's Dawning is that the weapons have this new origin trait called Dawning Surprise. Rapidly defeating enemies creates a Dawning gift. Defeating powerful targets counts for more than one kill. So what that basically means, you get enough kills, the enemy will drop this like legendary looking like glimmer thing on the ground. Here's the weapon in performance-wise. If you pick up that present they drop on the ground, it will start health regeneration and give you a good chunk of ability energy for all of your abilities. So with the build we're going for here, we're causing so many AoE explosions and void explosions that we'll be getting tons of multi-kills, and you'll be getting lots of presence, giving you health regen and giving you ability energy. It's really, really nice, and yeah, I do have that roll, so I lucked out on that one, and that is basically only a PvE weapon. I don't think that I'd be using the Glaciochasm in PvP. It's a very slow-charging fusion rifle, and fusion rifles have been nerfed in PvP so many times, I don't even see people using them really anymore, but, you know, maybe. So yeah, that's number 2. Then moving on to the last 3 here, we've got one that I know a lot of people have been chasing this season. It's called the Ikelos SMG, and it's got a bunch of numbers after it too. Now, this is one, I've gotten this to drop with the roll I want, but here's the thing. This is actually a craftable weapon. If you get the red border version, and I think it's like 4 red borders to get this crafted, you can build this craftable and do whatever kind of roll you want. A lot of people will tell you, though, that you know, there is some specific rolls that are probably the really good ones to go for, and this is a similar roll to what you should be going for. We've got the perk Volt Shot. After killing an enemy, we reload the gun, and it will make the next shot do AoE lightning on the enemy. So very good, makes this thing kind of AoE a little bit. And since we're trying to reload so often with, you know, getting that Volt Shot perk off, we've got Feeding Frenzy. Every rapid kills before reloading will make this reload speed really fast. And then we've also got Seraph rounds, which is basically going to increase our range and our stability. And we've also got, these Seraph weapons have this new perk called Rasputin's Arsenal. When you break an enemy's shield, it will partially reload your weapon's magazine. It's actually a big chunk. I want to say it's like 30% of your magazine is reloaded. It's pretty decent. So AoE on reload, get the reload back really quickly, and you know, just increase the range and all that. Now these things don't have the best magazine size, these aggressive SMGs. If you're used to using something like the Funnel Web or like Recluse or whatever, this thing has low. You will not have as many bullets in the magazine as those weapons. So as far as the God roll here, you know, pretty much what I just showed you. This is not the craftable version. I don't have the red borders yet, but yeah, God roll on this one either gonna be Jolt Shot, Feeding Frenzy with like Seraph rounds and like whatever barrel perks you like. I usually just go for Arrowhead Break, make it nice and simple. But some more range could be nice too for like reaching just the end of the range fall off, damage fall off, and all that. Now, if Feeding Frenzy is not for you, it's been nerfed. I don't really like Feeding Frenzy that much anyway. There's Perpetual Motion and there's also Threat Detector. Threat Detector is only good when you have enemies nearby you, but it does give you a good amount of extra reload speed and things of that nature. And Perpetual Motion is a newer one. While you're moving, you get like reload speed and stuff like that. And keep in mind, since this will technically be a craftable weapon, you'll get the enhanced versions of these. And enhanced Perpetual Motion gives you even more stats. I don't know what enhanced Threat Detector does, but yeah, you know, Volt Shot's going to be making it AoE is big. If you don't want to go Volt Shot, there's Frenzy for nice reliable damage buff. And then for PvP, this thing can actually be pretty good in PvP as well. You can get Rangefinder, Killing Wind, Rangefinder, like Dynamic Sway. This is one that can be very nice in PvP. And, you know, people are farming for it for a reason. This weapon's been a legendary weapon, like, in more ways than one for a long time. So, yeah, Ikelos SMG, it's pretty fun. And it's not, I don't know if it's free to play, the craftable one, but I hope so, because this thing's pretty awesome. All right, moving on to the last 2 weapons here. We've got another dungeon weapon here. Now, this one's actually pretty interesting. It's called the Wilderflight, and it's a grenade launcher. But it's not a normal grenade launcher. It is a grenade launcher that fires 2 grenades per shot. And it's a new archetype, and you'd be like, well, it fires 2 grenades. Maybe they reduced the damage. No, they didn't. It's pretty much just double damage on a grenade launcher. This will come from the new dungeon, the Spire of the Watcher, and I believe it's only dropping from the final boss. Of course, once you unlock it, you can get it from like the in-between chests and all that. But yeah, usually just going to drop from the final boss. And as far as what this does, I'm going to show you quickly in this, I guess we could call this a simulacrum. So you fire it off, and it will fire off 2 grenades. And of course, you can hold down the button and then detonate them when you want to, or they'll detonate on direct impact. Now, that's going to be a good chunk of extra damage right there, having 2 grenades you can fire off. So as far as what I want to get this for, I want to get this for damage. You can also get good on the blinding AoE route. This thing has lots of potential good rolls, but I'm going to go for the damage route. So as far as what rolls I'd suggest to you on here, it can actually get a good amount of stuff. Now, there's blinding nades, which will stun enemies in the area. There's spike nades that gives you increased damage when you do a direct hit. So if you can get a god roll with both of those as options, that would be great. But yeah, as far as perks I'm going for big damage, I'm going to go for Vorpal, auto-loading, spike nades, then you want as much velocity as possible. So whatever the best velocity one is. It has really high velocity already, so it shouldn't really matter which one you go for, as long as it's not... Yeah, like the quick launch, I guess, would be fine. And then whatever masterwork, maybe a blast radius masterwork. If you're trying to go down the defensive route to make it where you're blinding enemies, you're still going to probably want to go for auto-loading, but I believe Danger Zone might actually increase the AoE of the blinding nades, unless they nerf that. But yeah, you can if you're going for that, you can go for Lead from Gold, auto-loading. You can go for Disruption Break, auto-loading, whatever. Or if you want to go on the ability regeneration route, this can get Pugilist and Demolitionist, which Pugilist on kills will give you increased melee energy regeneration, and Demolitionist will give you grenades energy on kill. So you get a kill with both of these, you're getting a ton of your ability stats back, and that's pretty nice. Also, as we talked about earlier, with the Gear Falcon exotic, Repulsor Brace can give you an overshield. So lots of choices here. It's just the hardest thing is getting it to drop, because you got to get it to drop from the Wyvern boss, and then farming it after that. It's RNG if it shows up in the first place. This thing feels more rare than the dungeon exotic to me, and I've been trying to farm it. So, all right, and then we're on the last weapon here on my top 5 list for the Season of the Seraph. And this one I've actually been farming a lot. It's called the Prolonged Engagement. Now, we've been talking about Recluse and Funnel Web a lot today. And this thing is just a stasis version of Recluse and Funnel Web. It's the same Vice manufacturer and all that, and it's a stasis version of, the meta SMGs we've been using for like multiple years in this game. As far as perks on this thing, since it's stasis, you can actually get very interesting options like Headstone. When you get a headshot kill, the enemy will become an ice crystal and freeze enemies in the area. That's pretty good because, it can freeze enemies in the area, which means they're going to be taking more damage. They're going to explode on death, doing an ice explosion in the area, which will also kill other enemies. And if you're running a stasis class, there's certain things on the stasis class that can, benefit from enemies being frozen. So it's synergy with the actual subclass you're using in the first place. Increase the size of explosions from stasis crystals. There you go. The first one I looked at, Whisper of Fissures. Great synergy with this thing. But Headstone's not the only thing you can go with. You could go with something like Frenzy, increased damage. You can get Font of Might and a damage buff from Font of Might very easily on stasis with the Stasis Shards mod. Get a damage buff there, stack it with Font of Might. You're going to basically always have this up. Not to mention, we have different origin traits here that are very powerful. Vanguard's Vindication, giving you health on every kill. That will count from stasis crystals, too. But most people will probably go with Vice Stinger. Damage an enemy with his weapon has a small chance to reload the weapon instantly from reserve. So you can just basically keep firing it forever and ever and ever. Very similar to the Recluse. The Recluse didn't actually have that. The Funnel Web does have that. So this is my main chase weapon for the season. Now, as far as rolls, this is one... I'm actually going to give you some tips here. So this is one of those weapons that can drop from the Vanguard Strike playlist. And it has a lot of different perk options, as you can see. My suggestion to you is if you're trying to get, a really good roll, get 4 Vanguard resets. I know it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but the more Vanguard resets you get, the more... the higher chance you have to have this thing drop with multiple different perks in each slot. And that, as far as you saw that perk pool, there's a lot of choices here. You want to make sure that you have the best chance to get what you want here. And I'm going to show you what I think would be the best here. Now, I've tested a lot of these perks. This new one called Target Lock is quite interesting. It's going to make it where the damage you deal increases the longer you're on target. And I believe it's up to like 40% increased damage at the end of that. I have one of these with it, and it's pretty good. So it's up to you if you want to try it out. I'm probably going to go for my final roll is going to be Headstone, either Subsistence or Feeding Frenzy, which I already have. But you might notice this thing has really, really low range at base. So you want to have lots of range boosting perks. I definitely recommend high caliber rounds or ricochet rounds. And I definitely recommend a range increasing barrel. We're talking Hammer Forged. Or full bore is a little bit, like that reduced stability is kind of crappy. You're also going to want a range masterwork too. So it looks like about 60-ish range with the masterwork included is what you're going to be getting here. You're going to need it, dude. This thing, it has less range than funnel web. It does. And, you know, maybe someday we'll get a higher range version of this. But as far as, like, you know, stasis SMGs, this is the only one in the lightweight archetype. The Blood Feud from last season is the aggressive frame archetype. But as I said earlier with the Ikelos, those aggressive SMGs have a much worse magazine size. So keep that in mind. So yeah, Headstone if you're trying to go for the Stasis Crystal route. But as far as damage, Target Lock is pretty good. Like I said, I've tried it out. It's pretty good. And then there's also things like, you know, classics like Frenzy. One for All can be good for like a GM situation. I'm actually a Thresh enjoyer personally, so maybe even Thresh. But yeah, main ones are going to be definitely Headstone, Frenzy, and then Target Lock. So hopefully you guys found this video interesting and helpful. You know, weapons to look out for. Like I said, I have a Target Lock one here in my inventory, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I kept it right here. So let's see if it actually works on these guys in the Simulacrum. So yeah, you can actually see, and it doesn't look like it's actually working on that. Okay, so this is not, we actually, hey, if anyone from Bungie's listening, I highly doubt it, but we need an actual testing environment in game. That would be great. But yeah, the longer you're on target, the more damage you deal, and it does cap out at a certain point. And I believe it resets on reload too, so not exactly amazing, but an interesting new perk that does give you a good chunk of extra damage. So I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate all the support, and yeah, take it easy. Let me know any weapons that I missed. You know, there's a couple honorable mentions I wanted to put on here. The sidearm from the dungeon I want to throw on here. Deep Stone Crypt weapons I technically want to put on here too. But yeah, I just want to basically put on stuff that's included with the Season of the Seraph this season. All right, guys, take it easy. Peace.